Science is a subject that can be different for everyone and is not only limited to those who are doctors or scientists. Science can be described as the study of questioning something and finding the answer through observations, experiments, and trials.
From early years on, such as elementary school and middle school, we've heard that science uses the scientific method. This describes the scientific process as first creating a hypothesis, then running experiments that will provide evidence, either supporting or rejecting the hypothesis made, ending up with conclusions. This is often too simple for the actual scientific process.
The scientific process often includes going back to the original question and modifying or expanding that question to find other results that will help this claim. This often means creating a hypothesis or a question, getting and interpreting data, and creating theories or similar questions to answer the hypothesis. Sometimes the conclusions only lead to more questions.
Science also has 4 parts: fact, theory, law, and hypothesis, which are used to tell the process of most of the information we know of today. Facts are observations that are often objective and verifiable, an example being that eating healthy will keep you healthy. Although that may be true in most cases, it can also be proven wrong. A theory is an in-depth explanation of an occurrence, such as the theory of evolution and how it has been proven through extensive research. A hypothesis is a prediction of something's explanation through a limited amount of knowledge. Lastly, there is law, which is a statement of an occurrence that is about the theory created or founded.
Science is a big factor in the theory of evolution. There are many ways that evolution is backed up by science.
Evolution has been studied and researched for many years by scientists such as Charles Darwin and Alfred Wallace. The theory of evolution is supported with an overwhelming amount of evidence through the use of the scientific method.
Fossil records are one way that science has supported evolution. Plethoras of fossils found and examined by scientists shows proof of animals evolving over years with connections to bone structures and physical features. By having these records, we can see how animals that have gone extinct and animals in recent years have had similar ancestors showing evolution.
Evolution is also backed up by science through Charles Darwin, who dedicated years of his life on the study of evolution specifically. Darwin and his contributions show 4 main points. Species aren't identical, traits are passed down, more offspring are allowed than can survive, and only those that can survive can create offspring.
From Darwin's findings, we were able to come up with the process of evolution, which gives us 4 reasons that can change a population over time, which are natural selection, genetic drift, migrations, and mutations. These are the main ways that evolution is seen in science and how populations continue to change over time.
Evolutionary science does not need to threaten religious belief or practice. Science can help explain the physical world, while religion can explain the metaphysical. This is a very important distinction that can be made. Religion helps to provide morals and guidance to societal practices, while evolution helps to explain how we got here and what processes occurred in order for a wide variety of species to occur.
Evolution can intersect with creationism and create some conflict. However, evolution is backed by many forms of evidence that support it, such as fossil records and conserved DNA found within all organisms. Creationism can coexist with the evidence put forth for evolution through adaptation of the original story, so long as it does not attempt to replace it. Even without adaptation of the creationist story, evolution and religion can coexist through the distinction that they explain different aspects of life in order to create a bigger picture.
Scientists and the public must respect both religious and evolutionary beliefs, as they are both equally important to society. If people of one belief do not respect the other's belief, then they are unable to coexist. But if we can decide to respect both sides, then there is no threat to either group.
Evolution involves many genetic changes such as mutations, natural selection, genetic drift, and coevolution.
Over time, the genes within a species' genome change due to changes in the environment and population. As these changes occur, many species will face natural selection as they must find the characteristics that will help them to survive in their changing environment and benefit their population. These favorable characteristics are passed on to future generations through the mating of offspring. These characteristics allow changes to occur within the genome. Over time, these physical and genetic variations could lead to the creation of a new species.
For example, there is evidence that the ancestors of whales were originally land-dwelling animals. These land-dwelling animals are known to have given rise to both whales and hippopotami due to the evolutionary branching that occurs when species split off into two groups, forming genetic barriers. One piece of evidence that supports that whales came from land-dwelling ancestors is the hind legs still being found within the body walls of whales. But the only parts left are the vestiges of a femur and pelvis. Due to changes in their environment, whales' land ancestors made their way to living within aquatic ecosystems through various genetic changes that occurred slowly through natural selection and genetic variations that best allowed them to adapt to their environment.
The slow, continuous changes found within species is what leads to the rise of a new species branch. Eventually, these new species will evolve to form others, and so on. This, in itself, is how evolution works. As species' genomes change, they bring on new species. Understanding evolution is important for many unique reasons. However, they each ultimately impact the quality of human life. To begin, recognizing and analyzing traits within our species through evolution can help us understand the purposes and advantages for them. For instance, let's look at the appendix. The appendix protrudes from the colon in our digestive tract. It appears that the appendix doesn't have a critical purpose in modern human life. However, studies in evolution have indicated that early variants of our species, or even common ancestors, possess the appendix in order to prevent serious illness or digestion issues from consuming raw, undercooked, or tough foods. Overall, studies and investigations can aid in understanding the existence or benefits of anatomical structures such as the appendix.
Secondly, patterns of diseases or developmental issues can be discovered by studying and understanding evolution. Species that share a common ancestor with humans may possess very similar disease-related genetic expressions. These would enable scientists to identify patterns in human conditions through the testing of animals. For example, primates and humans express Alzheimer's in a very similar way. Since scientists can detect and establish disease-related patterns in other animals through experimentation, this can help us discover the warning signs or issues presented in humans that cannot be easily tested.
Lastly, understanding evolution can aid in the production of new medicines. Studying evolution can help us understand how bacteria or viruses, for example, can mutate and become resistant to certain treatments. The flu vaccine, for example, is regularly updated to accommodate new adaptive strains in viruses.
A teacher needs their students to digest the evidence and information surrounding evolution in order to build a cohesive understanding of the biological world.
Many aspects of biology branch from this theory of evolution, deeming it essential to a science curriculum. In order to form their own opinions, students should be familiarized with this scientific history, regardless of their religious affiliation.
It is the education system's job to ensure that the next generation of scientists have a secure foundation of ecological and evolutionary knowledge. They should also be preparing the next generation of adults in every industry to have a knowledgeable foundation based on evidence.
Evolution going untaught would allow for students to neglect its validity when in reality the science world has come to an unbiased consensus on the topic. Schools provide an environment for the rest of society to become more educated on the topic and for future scientists to have an understanding at a young age.
Even though evolution is considered a theory, it is filled with a substantial amount of scientific evidence and information, essential to a fully comprehensive science course.
Creationism is based on religion and is without scientific evidence, making it irrelevant to a science course taught in a public school. Creationism also does not have useful applications in a number of industries which students will enter upon graduation.
It is not the public education system's responsibility to enlighten students on the creation story. This is not only because it is considered highly inappropriate by many, but also because there is not only one religion, nor only one creation story that can be taught.
Since politics has a huge impact on society, we have to be able to rely on political leaders to understand and uphold the science we know is proven by fact.
Firstly, when we look to the leaders of our society, we have to be able to trust that they will make informed decisions which will benefit the widest range of people under their influence. Making decisions based on personal religious belief rather than strict and neutral fact is not benefiting everyone equally and could alienate citizens who aren't being addressed by such policies. This could lead to political unrest and social disruption down the line.
Secondly, since politics holds an incredibly public role and politicians are in the spotlight more than the average person, what they say in that spotlight matters. They should be speaking factually because a huge number of observers will be looking to them for trustworthy information. Their large influence could have the power to spread misinformation rapidly and lead to decisions not based in evidence by whole communities.
Additionally, politics has a big impact on public education, which is the foundation by which the country's population grows its next generation of citizens. Political leaders who have influence in education should especially be understanding of how important evidence in human biology is to a child's well-rounded education and participation in society. If the education system under certain politicians sets a precedent that evidence is optional, then it will affect the whole of a student's ability to learn successfully. Those generations of kids will then enter countless industries misinformed without a proper understanding of science.
So we know that evolution is factual and has overwhelming scientific evidence. But what are the best ways to communicate that information in ways that people will understand best?
Teachers are taught that the best way to get students to learn in a meaningful way is to communicate information multimodally. This is the most engaging for learners and fosters the most reception. What this means is that rather than just presenting students or viewers with text, they are given a video, a photo, a discussion, an activity about the same topic. The goal is to communicate using audio, visual, textual, and engagement for each topic of information. So if someone doesn't understand a scientific word they're reading, they have a chance at understanding through a documentary.
Information surrounding evolution should also be presented by and to a range of demographics so viewers can relate to and trust who is delivering it. Someone in their 60s may be more willing to believe a 70-year-old presenting data than a 25-year-old grad student. Therefore, throughout any media, there should be a range of types of people with a stake in the conversation. This is also vital when ensuring that evidence lacks every possible bias.
Lastly, evidence for evolution should be presented both as scientific data and as artistic renderings or recreations. It can be hard for everyone to digest and make sense of the whole story from just scientific evidence. When it is presented alongside animations or metaphors, though, it becomes a lot easier for everyone to translate and understand.